right, what's good, everybody? Hopefully this works. Let's see. What's good, gang? Let me make sure everything works on my end for you guys. There we go. Let me just make sure you guys can actually hear me as well. What's good, everybody? Good morning. I put the webcam on. Hopefully our mic is working a lot better. Hopefully everything in general, the quality is great for you guys. Let me just double check and make sure that you guys are with me. There we go. All right, what's good, everybody? Hopefully this works. Sounds a lot better. What's good? Gang. All right, perfect. I'm just double checking on my end just to make sure that you guys are Gucci. There we go. All right, yeah, it looks like you guys are good. All right, what's good, everybody? Oh, let me get that out the way. I wanted to make sure that I'm giving you guys obviously better quality on the sessions and just in general. Try and put that on mute. All right, so I am looking at the chat. Oh, let me get this out the way for you guys as well. So I am looking at the chat for you guys. So I will be answering any and all questions for you guys. I want to make this a lot more personal for you guys, up the value and quality of the streams. So that way, obviously, you guys could get to know me a little bit more. And also understand that the fact that everything that I teach here, the things that I'm educating you guys on does in fact work, that you guys can use the tactics, the strategies, and just everything that I go over here in the real market, so that way you guys can consistently make profits. Well, what's good, everybody? Gang. If you guys can, share this with anybody that you know who trades, who you think would have questions or be able to really benefit from these calls. If you have been on my sessions before, you already know that there's tons of value that will be given. The more that these sessions grow, the more that the community grows, the more value and more time that I'll be giving out to you guys as well, just to make sure that the community that we are building remains consistently knowledgeable and obviously profitable. I want to make sure that everybody is making as much money as possible when they are trading. So that's really important. Hey, good morning. What's the market selection today? You guys tell me. I think the biggest thing for me to really go over is the idea of relevance. Relevance on speaking on things that you guys need to really see, things that you guys would want to speak on, and things that you would like to learn as well. I think that's the biggest thing, is really helping you guys understand what's needed to become profitable, things that you guys need help with. I want to go over and really look at markets you guys want to go over as well. So if you guys have any markets you specifically want to take a look at, feel free to let me know. If there's any questions that you guys have, also feel free to let me know, and I'll definitely go over that for you guys as well. There is a minor delay on the call as well, so it's like maybe like a 10 to 15 second delay. So if it sounds like I'm ignoring you, I promise you I'm not. It's just that by the time it relates to you, there's a lot of time that went by. So just bear with me. Loving the volume and loving the volume on AU. Want to break that down? Yeah, sure. I'll go over AU. Let me get this out the way real quick because I got my mic and keyboard and my coffee. Well, my water. I don't have my coffee today, but my water. All right, so AU. So actually last night we did have, excuse me. So we did have some AU news, and it did seem like it came out negative for the Aussie dollar. So it does seem as if we're going to continue to look a lot more bearish. I mean, we are looking at a bearish market. And somebody said gold as well. Let me just check the audio on this real quick, just to make sure you guys can hear me. Okay. So real quick, if the mic goes out weirdly, if it sounds off, let me know, please. I had to order a new mic. It's like some special mic. I have no idea why it's special. But I had to make sure that I ordered a new one for you guys. So if the audio goes out, just let me know so that way I can fix it and really make sure that you guys are getting good quality. So breakdown on AU. I mean, so the one thing I want everybody to understand is when you're jumping onto a chart, when you're looking at a market, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're really understanding the overall sense of what the market is doing, right? You can't just go into the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 and get a strong understanding of what's happening. That's not how that works. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're going on a higher time frame. I'm always going on to the daily, sometimes even the weekly. Excuse me. But you don't have to really scale out to the weekly to understand the overall trend and what's currently happening here on AU. So we're going to break this down from a higher time frame and then get detailed, right? Because that's what we do. We go into a higher time frame. We understand the overall direction, the market trend, right? And then we scaled down to a smaller time frame to get finer detail, to understand what we're looking as far as entries or any other further confluence in the sense of, well, we can see that the market is selling, but is there any other forms of confluence or any other clues that the market is leaving behind that can tell me that, yes, in fact, this market is in fact going to continue to be bearish? So the first thing we'll want to do is, well, one, understand, is this bullish or bearish? Well, we can see that overall previously, I got this mic like in the way, every aspect, there we go. So we can see how this was, and this is not going to be an accurate trend line. I'm not even going to draw a trend line. We're going to do this. You can see how the market was from these lows to these highs. Obviously, this is not a trend line. This is just showing you the direction of the market previously, right? This was a very strong bullish market until it wasn't. The market found what we call a PRZ, a potential reversal zone. So you can see if we look left, this was a level of previous structure, and we came right back to that level of structure, right? We just matched it. Right? There's nothing complicated as far as as far as trading is concerned and how to determine the next potential move. We can see that we reached another level of previous structure. So we're just going to put structure, right? We could put resistance, we could put supply, demand, support, we could put whatever, but we're going to make it very simple. Structure, price. And this is, in case anybody's wondering, this is called price action trading. All you're doing is identifying the most relevant level of price and the actions that proceed within them. So we came to a level of significant price. This is the significant level of price that we're identifying here. So as we found that significant level of price, what were some actions that had happened at this point to determine that the market wanted to find some potential sells? We ended up getting a double top. And if you're wondering why I'm going over this in total, it's so that way you could understand the overall market, why the market is doing one thing, so that way you can continue to go with it, right? Because if the money's going up, you want to go up, you want to buy. If the money's going down, you want to find the reasonings on why it's going down and if it's going to continue, so that way you can find your initial entries. So we have an initial double top there, right? Because we can see how, what? That went crazy real quick. Let me just try to, I'm actually just going to delete that because it won't get smaller now. Let me, get another one that just decided to do its own thing. What? There we go. So we can see we have a double top right there, and as we broke below that double top, or as soon as we broke below, we can see it came to retest that area. Now I'm doing this a little bit fast because I want to get to the point, but what we're looking at is the market giving us an overall bearish sentiment. We broke below that double top rather. We respect that point. What we also got, in case anybody can't see it, is a head and shoulders pattern. Now, a head and shoulders pattern is something you always want to try to identify, especially on a higher time frame. If you can see it on a higher time frame, even better. But this is something you want to find at the end of a trend, right? Because that's going to show you that the market is in fact reversing. So if I can see a head and shoulders pattern and this creating now lower highs and lower lows, I'm going to delete a few things here so we're not confused. So you can see that we created, or this was a high point, and now we're creating a lower high, and now we're creating a lower low, lower high, lower low. The market is showing us that it's creating more bearish momentum now. We can also already see the break of the neckline. I should have said that as well, but the break of the initial neckline here as well, and that bullish trend line, if you will. It's not perfect. I just drew it out really fast, but you can see the break of it. So we have a lot of bearish sentiment. So the individual asking about AU and you like the value of it and for me to break it down, we already see that this is a strong seller's market. So let's see if we can actually draw a trend line from these highs to the initial lows down here. Okay, I like this trend line on the daily time frame. Even though there's not a third connective point, there's still the chance that we can't get a third touch, something like this, right? And then another move to the downside. And on smaller time frames, there's probably other trend lines and finer detail work, but at least on this time frame, I do like that. This being one connective point, this being our second. Now, if we get a third somewhere around anywhere, that'll be great. But the one thing I am looking at, if we look left to get right, is we are reaching a structure point. So just around that point, roughly around that area. Which is okay, because I still think this to be extremely bearish. And the reason why I think that this is going to be extremely bearish is because if you already can see it, there's two things that we're looking at actually, not just one. We can see, if I just go ahead and replay this, you can see that there was a form of structure. There was some support here, right? So I can see that there was some support there. The market couldn't break below that. We can even see that the candlesticks here were giving wicks to the downside, showing it that bearish momentum was weak, that sellers were no longer in the market. But what I can see, well, that with that level of exhaustion, you should get a nice correction. The market trying to build up the energy needed to then break through. Well, if I press play, we can already see that it built up that energy to break through. This is considered now a breakout. And mind you, we're still in the daily. We're gathering a lot of information. So that way, when we jump to a smaller time frame, we know exactly where to enter. Because I think a lot of the misconception is that when you use the higher time frames, you're only placing like one trade a year. I guarantee you it's not that way. The first thing you always want to identify again is that direction, because if I know it's going to sell, if I know it's going to continue to sell, the only thing I need to do now is just look for my entry. I don't need to go crazy and have a guru strategy and indicators. All I need to understand is, well, if it sold from one point before, it's going to probably sell from there again. And we're going to identify that here right now. So this breakout, I'm just breaking, I'm fully breaking this market down. So this would be considered a breakout to the downside. I'm not going to write all that, but you can clearly see this is a seller's breakout. And this being a bearish engulfing candlestick currently, because we still have about 9 hours left, this candle could just spike all the way up, leaving a wick to the downside and not actually breaking below this level of structure. And then we have to change our bias a little bit. But currently, that is a bearish engulfing candle and breaking below that level of structure. That's showing me that sellers are still very much in the picture. But what we have to understand is, after a strong impulsive move, after a strong sell, it's probably not just going to continue to sell, right? It's probably going to take its time or want to find another opportunity. So when we scale down to, and again, just to identify this level of structure, I believe when it reaches here, when it reaches this support zone, so we'll actually just write this down. Support. Was good, everybody. I'm taking a look at the chat real quick. I appreciate everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So once we reach this level of support, because we can see how strong and impulsive this sell is, I would expect a potential correction. So being like this, the market drops lower, it reaches this support zone, and then we get a correction from there. Now, let me get rid of this trend line because it's not valid as of yet, so I don't want any confusion on that. But let's say it spikes lower, it reaches that support. I believe that support, that price point, will then be the catalyst or the reason for this market to then give us our correction, which is perfect, right? Because this could be considered a potential buy zone. If we start seeing some rejection around this area on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and smaller time frames, we can start looking for a few things. I'm on the 4 hour time frame now, just so that way we can now do some finer detail work. Because on each time frame, you have your own markup. You can't just say on the daily what you see there and that's it. So what we can do on the 4 hours, like I said before, on the smaller time frames, we might get some other forms of trend line. So I'm actually going to add that trend line there. You can see the connective point starting from here and here. I'm actually not going to, I got to put my contacts in. There we go. I thought for some reason that was not correct, but we can actually leave it just like that. So this being our bearish trend line, this being our support or our previous support, now being our new level of resistance. This could be considered our new sell zone. Because I'm not going to try, the one thing I want everybody to understand is, if you are a victim of this, I know I definitely was when I first started trading. I'm like, oh, the market's selling, let's continue. You place your sell here, and then it does this, right? You always want to make sure you're identifying the most relevant, the most high probable risk to reward setup that you can. So instead of selling from these lows, let's expect this to reach these or reach this support and correct higher back up to this point. So this would be considered, actually, before we draw that as our sell kill zone, let's use a fib. I'm going to draw actually we can't use a fib yet, only because there's no correction, but I will do it in the educational aspect of, if let's say the market does come back to that structure level, let's say perfectly right down here, this level of structure alongside the fib ratio, and also alongside, let's say the trend line, let's say it does this, and it comes to 618, the structure and the trend line, I will then look for potential entries, right? And that's just a breakdown on AU, just to get everybody warmed up. What's good, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you guys are, this is your first time on the call with me, welcome. I appreciate you being on. If you have been on with me previously, thank you for always being on the calls, consistently being patient, and allowing me to fix my mic situation and make the streams a little bit more high value for you guys. But good morning. But yeah, that is my idea with gold. I think that if it continues to push down much lower, and again, we do have news later on today as well for the US dollar. So this can give us, I mean, we can break this down in a technical standpoint. The news comes out and it just does whatever it wants. You know what I mean? We already know how the market goes. It can just go up and go down, does whatever it wants. But I would expect it to, again, reach these lows here, come right back up, reach the structure, a fib ratio, because this is obviously not the correct fib ratio, and the trend line. But this will be considered my sell kill zone. Oh my God, I can't spell. And if you are risky in that sense, you can do what's considered a counter trend trade, right? Let's say the market does reach this low. We come down to the support and we start seeing it lose that bearish momentum and it starts consolidating here a little bit, showing us that it's rejecting from there. You can go ahead and look for a potential buy leading into your sell kill zone, or at least the trend line, or wherever your confluence may be. Right, I'm always going to try to identify more than one entry, but this is why you mark up the chart in that sense. You identify specific levels of price because those price points are considered your entry points. This gold or AU, if you look at the top left-hand corner, you can see it says AU, my mans. So yeah. Appreciate the detail on market structure. Your videos definitely improve my attention to detail. It's really important that you say that too, because I think it's more along, I wouldn't say it's really attention to detail. I think it's just more along the lines of just really trying to understand what the next step may be. Maybe that is attention to detail. But with trading, it's you have to understand you're not just trying to find that, okay, well, that one move. Well, there's more than one move that you can identify. Like, again, we're identifying a sell from this kill zone, but in order for that sell to even happen, there has to be a move to the upside, right? So I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at the next potential sell, but what's going to happen before that? A potential correction. And could that correction be profitable on a smaller time frame? Absolutely. So if we can identify something like that, why not? So yeah, I guess it's attention to detail, but I'm always just trying to see if I can understand the market in multiple steps, because if I can get a sell and a buy and a buy and a sell, I'm gonna do that. I got bills, baby, so I gotta make sure I catch every move. You mentioned gold, so I was confused. Somebody had said that they wanted me to take a look at gold, which I'm gonna take a look at right now. But yeah, no, just take a look. If you ever want to know what market I'm looking at, it says it right there on the top left-hand corner. So let me just make sure this sounds really good for you guys. Yeah, I guess it's attention to detail. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because for some reason, I don't know why my last mic, I don't know how it just like went out, but it sounded crazy. But yeah, now I got a better mic, so hopefully it sounds a little bit better for you guys. But yeah, let me go ahead and take a look at gold real quick. So this is actually, what was my markup on that? I don't even think I updated that in a bit. This is actually reaching a really good point. So the one thing I do want to say is, okay, because I was looking at this differently before, but now I'm actually going to go back and resort to my previous analysis. Okay, so I'm going to go into the higher time frame, being the daily. So on the higher time frame, we were able to see that we did have this strong bullish move. And after having formed this double top at a level of previous structure, I wouldn't really say a double top in a sense, because it did kind of break above that point. But we can see how we have, I would say, a double top. By doctrine, it wouldn't be considered a double top. The reason why I'm having a discrepancy about it is because a double top, this can't be broken even by a little bit. So you can see how here it kind of is by this candle. It must respect that price point. By true definition of what a double top and double bottom is, it can't break above that point. But in true sense of what happened, it didn't break above, didn't create a higher high in a sense. It did show a seller's or break of structure and seller's momentum. But I'm starting to not go against that, but I'm starting to see more bullish intent on gold, which might give us a different outlook on what some like AU, like how we just went over, may do. We gotta pay attention, especially with how news is going to come out. But what I was looking at previously, and I'll just replay this, was this. As the market was breaking lower, and I just replayed this, I just took some time away, just that way you can see how I saw it previously. So what I was originally looking at was this being a previous level of structure, being a level of resistance, and then being broken out of. You can just see this. This is how I determine what price points and what levels of structure are important, right? Because you can't just simply say, well, I'm going to mark this up as a level of structure because of this. No, there has to be a reason why. You know, I mean, you can't just be like, well, because it broke out, and then what? Why just a breakout? Because the market can push up higher and lower at any point. But when you see it happen at a specific price point, a specific level of structure, that's when you need to pay attention. And what I mean by that is when you see a level of significant structure like this, resistance, right? You can see how the market reacted around it. You can see how it did not want to break above wick to the upside. We even started getting bearish variance, wick to the upside, showing bearish rejection. Right, we started getting a lot of bearish intent, but what ended up happening, we got that bullish move, a strong breakout. That breakout, after a level of structure has been respected for so long, is considered a form of action. The market coming back to retest that level of structure is also a form of action and should be considered important, because why? If the market made a move from there before, it could make a move from there again. That is really important. So what I want to do is go ahead and let this play out, because what I'm looking at is for this level of structure to be respected or at least met, right? Because if that market is met, we can now look for the market's next decision. It'll tell us if it breaks below that point, no buys. We look for continued sells. If that level of structure is respected, then we can go ahead and start scaling in for potential ideas that this could be considered a PRZ, which is considered a potential reversal zone. So what was a sell could end up looking for potential buys here. Once we reach that point, we can then start looking for any type of confluences or actions that will then determine that. So when I press play, we are really at that point, and we already kind of respected it. I'll make my zone a little bit better. This being the entire, I don't like my zones ever being that big. That's why I guess it kind of broke lower, but we can cheat because we know exactly where the market kind of came to. Still pretty much respecting that structure almost perfectly, that resistance point. Again, my zones are not going to be that big, but we can see that it actually respected that PRZ, right? We can see that it gave us that bullish respect. We already have broken above a market structure high here. Why is that important? Because when we scale down to a smaller time frame, we can get a little bit more detailed, right? Let me get rid of this down here. We, on the smaller time frame, on the daily, we couldn't see it, but on the 4 hour, the time frame, the one time frame over, we can actually see that we had a double bottom at that level of structure, which indicated that sellers were no longer welcome and buyers are now walking into the market. We already broke above the structural high for that double bottom, showing us again also with a bullish engulfing candle, dictating that buyers are definitely taking over with that bullish engulfing candle right there, at least here on the 4 hour time frame. So that's showing me that buyers are very much still or getting more into the market, being a lot more active. If I'm going to take this away real quick, and I'm actually going to put it right here. I think you guys are already seeing where I'm getting at. This was a level of previous structure. This was resistance, and it got broken out of to the upside, and now it is being retested, right? Now, before I go any further, because there's a few things that we have to add as far as confluence is concerned, we actually do have, excuse me, we actually do have a inverted head and shoulders pattern, which is a bullish reversal pattern. And we already broke above the initial neckline. Now, with a head and shoulders pattern, you're not always going to get the retest of the neckline being the structure point or the actual trend line that sometimes you can't associate with. But at least in this case, we can associate it with our initial structure, being what used to be resistance is now a level of current support. Obviously, this can be broken down, which I do believe may be the case. I think it might be broken to the downside. But what we're doing is using the clues that the market is currently leaving behind. will change our bias when our current markup here is no longer valid, being that the candle breaks below, which I do believe is going to happen, to be completely honest. If it breaks below that level of structure, obviously this being, I mean, you can mark up structure on time frames all day. I'm only going to pay attention to the relevant ones. Give me 1 second. I'm dying here. I used to always wonder why teachers had big thermoses and giant cases of water with them. And it's because when you talk a lot and you teach a lot, you get thirsty as hell. So I apologize on that. But yeah, if I see that the market breaks below that level of structure, let me get rid of this. This is not relevant for us. Breaks below here. Obviously, that's going to dictate or tell me that my bias is no longer welcome in the sense. I'm not going to be looking for this as a buy range. But right now, we are retesting a level of structure. We are respecting the 71.1 fib ratio, which is a minor. I don't think a lot of people use that fib ratio, which is okay. It's not really a very common fib ratio. But when used with structure, I mean, like how any fib ratio should be, it's a very strong structure. So right now, this would be considered a buy kill zone. And that's just for now, right? Because obviously when news comes out, we'll get a lot more volatility. And that will really dictate the true sense and direction of the market. But at least on a technical standpoint, that's what we can see. Again, that inverted head and shoulders pattern plays a huge part too. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Because if we can see a strong reversal pattern, especially with the market showing us now bullish market structure, respect of previous support or previous structure itself rather, right now showing us that we are respecting a previous what was resistance is now a support zone. I might see this as a potential buy. And I forgot what time news comes out. I think at 10. I don't think we'll be on, but depending if there are some solid trades on this, I'll put this out in the Discord for you guys. I'm sorry for not being as active in the Discord. I really wanted to make sure that the auto trader was good. My mic situation was jacked up, so I wanted to make sure that that was situated for you guys. Jump on the live sessions and really help you guys. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, any questions? Any other markets you guys want to take a look at? Is anyone confused? Does anyone need help with something? I think the biggest thing for you guys is really helping you guys understand what's needed to become profitable. Being able to trade or being able to understand a strategy is one thing, but being able to implement that and make money is another. So I want to be able to help you guys be able to implement the things that you know, so that way you guys can actually become profitable when it comes to trading. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. If there's any other markets you guys want me to take a look at, also let me know. My man Kyle said, good morning. Euro JPY, I'm assuming? Looking like continued sell. No, USD CAD. My man switched it up real quick. I mean, I could take a look at both. I'll take a look at both. I'll take a look at USD CAD since you was pretty adamant about that. But yeah, I'll take a look at USD CAD. So again, with these US cross pairs, I want you guys to understand that there is news coming out. So there's a lot of volatility that will come out, and that will give us a true identity. But I'm only going to speak on this on a technical standpoint because I don't know what the news will ever be. I think people get so mad at me when they're like, gold, buy, sell for news. I'm like, I don't know. They're like, yes, you do. I'm like, nobody knows that at all. And I hate when people say, yeah, I know what exactly is going to happen. Nobody knows unless you actually work somewhere in the government, the banks, you're in the know-how like that. So I can only speak on a technical standpoint. But yeah, my man Kyle was good. I'll talk about USD CAD, see what we got, and then I'll give you an idea. But what's the one thing we're always going to do? I want everybody to get used to that or accustomed to that. And now before I do, real quick, if you guys do actually get a lot of value from these calls, I know that I haven't done this in like a week or so, but now that everything's situated, I got my green screen, I got my mic, I got everything situated for you guys. If you guys like the value, if you guys appreciate the sessions, if you guys are actually understanding what's going on, this is improving your actual trading, like the video, please. It definitely helps. Again, I really want to just build this community out of transparency, value, tons of profits, and really help you guys understand what's needed to become profitable. I mean, like that's the biggest thing. I want everybody to be impacted in a positive manner. So yeah, help the channel grow. The more the channel grows, the more value I'll be putting out for you guys. The longer times I'll be on these calls, the more lives I'll be giving. more trade signals that I'll be putting out in the Discord for not just legacy students, but for anybody who's associated in the Discord as well. If you're not a part of the Discord, the link is in the description below here in the video, so feel free to join if you're not a part of it. But yeah, it definitely helps if you like the video. It definitely helps us grow. So appreciate that. Bang, bang, finger guns. Let's continue. So looking at USD CAD, the first thing we're always going to do is jump onto a higher time frame. Why? Because we got to understand a few things. We got to understand the direction, the trend, right? Is it up? Is it down? Should we be buying? Should we be selling? Or are we at a level of structure, a PRZ, that could prevent the market from continuing in the current direction? We could be looking for now reversal in a completely different direction. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back in history real quick and really understand the reasoning behind what's happening now. So we can clearly see, and I'm just going to, just so that way we can make this very easy. We're going to go from, we can see from these lows to the current highs, it's a bullish market. We don't need an indicator. We don't need a magic wand or a guru strategy for us to be like, well, shit, that's buying, right? Or that's in a bullish market. And now if we look left, we can also understand that we are also reaching or at a level of significant structure. I'll make that our structure there. I'll get rid of this, right? We can see that this is a significant level of structure. So this could be considered resistance. So what that could mean is that this could very much start looking for potential sells, or any resistance or any supports can also be broken. So this resistance could be completely bypassed, and this could be a continued buy, right? But right now, what the market is showing us is that it did have and is currently having some trouble from breaking above. So let's go ahead. I'm actually going to draw this right here. Excuse me. We're going to draw this right here because we can see that's where the market is. We're kind of cheating really quick just to make our markup perfect for right now. In the future, if we need to adjust, we will adjust. But right now, we're just going to draw this out as structure. Simple, nothing complicated, right? So me being able to see that this is a level of structure being on the higher time frame, the daily, that's important, right? Because the higher the time frame, the stronger that confluence actually is, the stronger that structure will be. So if I can see that higher time frame confluence being structure, or being resistance rather, we can see that it's already showing us that it's giving us some form of rejection, at least a little bit. We can start to scale down to a smaller time frame, right? I don't have to go and start doing all this, because I think a lot of people get that idea that they need to start having trend lines and these fibs on these crazy time. By no means, absolutely not. Scale down to a smaller time frame, being the 4 hour, right? Just the corresponding time frame. And let's get some more information. So on this time frame, we definitely can add a trend line. Real simple, nothing complicated. I'm going to get rid of the resistance structure there. We already know that this is going to be our structural high. Now we can add a little bit more confluence. Now the reason why I'm adding more confluence is because we want to understand some prerequisites. Maybe the market can tell us early what it's going to do, right? Because as you can see here, we now have a breakout pattern, a bullish breakout pattern at a level of structure. Can that be an early indication that this resistance will be broken? I believe so, right? I do believe that USD CAD will continue to be bullish. And this is the entire markup, right? And this is my entire markup because I'm not looking for an entry right now, right? If I'm looking for an entry, obviously there'll be a little bit more to it. But right now, this is what I would see. Let me make this a little bit more perfect. Oh, I feel like I'm getting sick. I hope I'm not. There we go. So I'm just making the trend line a little bit more perfect. So you have a bullish breakout pattern. So with that bullish breakout pattern, and we're already, and I want you guys to see this, is that the breakout? Right? And if we look a little bit closer, we're going to have to scale to the 1 hour time frame. I can see here on the 4 hour. Let me do this really quick. So this being a level of structure, as you can see, and when I scale to the 1 hour, it might make a little bit more of a difference. I'm just trying to help you guys understand the reasoning on why you use time frames or multiple time frames, because you're not just looking at one time frame and expecting that one time frame to give you everything, right? You have to be able to understand each time frame, and each time frame must tell you the same thing. If I'm looking at buys on USD CAD on the daily, maybe I have to see more confluence on the 4 hour. If the 4 hour is telling me buys, maybe I have to go on the 1 hour and start looking for confluence on buys on that as well. So if we do this, that being a level of structure, let's do this. Scale down to the 1 hour. Can you see why that's a level of structure a little bit easier? Can you see that this is also the neckline of this inverted head and shoulders pattern? Makes sense, right? If you guys can't see it, left shoulder, head of the pattern, we'll draw it there, right shoulder. I jacked that up, but as you can see, it's already broken to the upside. I messed this whole pattern up, but excuse me. Oh yeah, I hope I'm not getting sick. My bad, guys. So you can see here that we're also having that inverted head and shoulders pattern. And look, you can already see that it's broken above. And if I get rid of the trend line, get rid of this, we can already see it's broken above previous structure already. I mean, that's and the one thing, here's a trick as well that I want everybody to kind of take with them. So if you have a break of structure, that's one thing. If you have a bullish engulfing candle, that's another. When you have, and this doesn't matter on any time, this works on any time frame, right? If you have a break of structure, that's great. If you have in this case, right, in a bullish market, a bullish break, you have a bullish engulfing candle, that's even better. This being the bullish engulfing candle and the breakout candle at that. But if that candle has absolutely no wick to the upside, that is I wouldn't say 100% because nothing within trading is 100%, but you could rest assured that that shit is going to make you money, right? When you have no wick in the direction that the market is moving, I don't care about this, the candle next to it that closed. This means that there was absolutely no seller's rejection. That they were just like, you know what? Take it. Take the money and go. That's exactly what happened here. So with USD CAD already breaking above a level of structure, breaking above the neckline of an inverted head and shoulders pattern, which pretty much confirms, or not pretty much, it absolutely confirms a valid reversal pattern. In this case, a continuation pattern. USD CAD will continue to buy. Now, obviously, we can see that this being the high point up here, and also if we look left on a higher time frame, being the daily or weekly, that's also a level of strong structure. But USD CAD, very much strong buys. I wouldn't go against that. Oh, I always mark up at the top wicks. Oh, you're talking about up here? So, okay. So let's do it like this. I hope this kind of makes sense, and this might resonate with a lot of you guys. So let's say we have structure, and these are wicks, right? Let me see how this actually looks. Got it. Okay. Okay, so I see how I did it. So these are wicks, obviously on a candle, right? So they're all going to be different. They're all going to be weird and shit, right? So let's say there's, wicks up there. Let's say you have 4. But my structure is down here. Now, the reason being, because we look here, I mean, there are some points, if I get rid of this, if we don't talk about like the right now market, we can see if we use the wicks here, which wick would you use? As far as like, would you use this wick here? Because you still have a break that's a little bit higher, this is a little bit lower. Would you use that wick? Because that's the higher point. But the market never reaches there, so you wouldn't even be able to look for a potential sell if there was one. So the reason why I'm using not the wicks, and there's nothing specific that I'm using as far as wicks or even the body of the candles, right? I'm not using anything specific. What I am doing is I'm looking at the most common price point that has been used, been respected, or had seen some form of action, right? Let me get rid of the replay here. So if I go here, I could expect, let's say, okay, that candle had a wick, that candle had a wick, and obviously, you know what I mean? Like, I could do this all day. These all had wicks, but we don't know where to put the structure because each of the heights on the wicks are different. But the most common spot is we have candles all drawn out through here, right? We have a candle here, we have a candle here. You know what I mean? So there's so much action through here that will dictate that, well, you know, the market has respected this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many ever times over just those 4 wicks or the 4 rejected points and those heights, right? We can feel more comfortable saying, well, if the market reaches those highs with and leaves a wick up there, that's perfectly fine. That's telling me that it's rejecting that point. The market can't break above this structure point. My entry goes here as soon as this candle closes. Why? Because 1, that level of structure is being respected, and it can't be broken out if it's trying. The try is the wicks, right? The market is trying to push up and break above, but sellers say nope and brings it right back down. The market in the candle closes below that price point. That's where you're looking at your most relevant area. It doesn't. And I know I said doesn't. I'm not being specific as far as the candles are concerned. I'm just looking for like a common ground where the market has found more action than anything, and that's where I'll dictate my structure, if that kind of makes sense. Again, it's nothing specific, but as you see here, I'm using, and you can see there's wicks here. I'm not drawing it, you know what I mean, like right here. I'll zoom in. I'm not dictating it based off of the body of a candle because there's space between, but I can see action, 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 action. It's not the body of a candle, it's the wick of it. More action here. But what's the most common denominator here? The market, the candles, if I draw my zone a little bit bigger, could not break above this price zone, right? Again, not basing it off the candles or the body. I'm basing it off the price point that has found more action. Because you can see here, every time it's came to this price point, what has happened? It's sold, 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 until it got broken above, dictating or showing us that it's no longer a resistance point. We can now consider this a break of structure, more higher highs and higher lows being made. Obviously, the break of the neckline showing us that buyers are now welcome. So hopefully that makes sense. So USD CAD still very much a buy. So hopefully that kind of helps. Again, it's not, you're not looking for anything specific when you're looking for trading, because when you look for something specific and it never happens, you miss out on so many opportunities because you're just looking for, oh, I need, you know, the moving average to cross this and then that. And if that doesn't happen, I can't look at anything else. You're not going to be able to say, well, there's so many other opportunities because you're looking at something specific. I'm only looking at what the market leaves behind, the clues. And the biggest, the easiest clues to identify is structure. Like, again, just to give you an idea, here are the 4 hour. Where would I mark support? Well, I'm not going to draw support just here because that's the wick, right? Because if I was to look for another buy from here, that opportunity never happened. But if I mark my structure and say, well, there's been a lot of action here, there's been a resistance, a break above, a retest. It tried closing below but could not break below, or close below rather, close below that level of structure that has already seen a lot of action. Could there be action from there again? Absolutely. You can see there, as soon as it came back to that price point, there was a strong buy. You know what I mean? Especially if you bought it from there and you're still holding, you're very much in profit. So you're always trying to identify and dictate the price that has seen more action, where moves have been made from before. You're not just looking for the highs and the lows. Has to be relevant. There has to be some reasoning on why you're looking at that, because there has been some moves from there before. And look at that, USD CAD just shooting to the upside. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, any other questions? Any other markets you guys want to take a look at, feel free to let me know. Definitely want to make sure that, again, I'm speaking on relevance and really helping you guys understand what's needed to become profitable. Let me take a look at gold, which I'm pretty sure broke through that structure. Before we take a look at it, yeah, like I said, Even though I was looking at this as a buy kill zone, that is very much bearish, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to delete my original analysis. I will not be looking at this as a buy zone. And that's okay, because there's no harm lost, right? There's no money lost in this. No money has been made either. Actually, I'm lying. I think yesterday we put our gold scalper on for our auto trader. There was definitely money to be made on that. But I don't have that on now because the news is on, or news is coming out. And as you see, a very high volatile market on gold like that is not the best to be trading when you don't know the overall direction, especially when news is coming out. But yeah, I mean, with gold selling so far, I would expect, again, just like how we're saying for USD CAD, with gold selling, showing us dollar strength, I would definitely expect USD CAD to continue as well. USD JPY. Let's see. Oh, that's right. I was looking for buys on that. But this market's so consolidated. So, I mean, even with US dollar buys, or US dollar strength rather, and the US or USD JPY looking at a strong uptrend, if you will. Not so much the strongest. I mean, on the daily, it's still very much bearish. But we are starting to see it pulling more bullish a little bit. I would actually expect USD JPY to find a little bit more bearish rotation. It might get a spike if news comes out positive for the dollar. It might get a spike, bullish in the favor of the US dollar itself. But I do think overall USD JPY and the majority of all yen pairs will start looking a lot more bearish. Like what was that? I think it was UJ that I was looking at. But I thought it would be similar, USD JPY and UJ or GJ, I think it was. It's actually a lot different. And the reason why I say similar is because they're very correlated. They have the yen correlated with them. So they almost, not always, but almost look the same. But USD JPY looks a tad bit different. So the one thing I will say is I do think that, again, the majority of all yen pairs will be bearish. And the one thing I am looking at is just this weird looking head and shoulders pattern. We're already kind of getting the idea that it doesn't want to continue to be bullish. We're already creating lower highs. The one thing I will say is we do need to break below this point here, though. This is showing us that this is its true market structure. This is like its shelf, if you will, right? So if I do this, you can see this being support. So if, in fact, I won't draw a trend line as of yet because I really don't think that would be the best idea. Actually, I'll leave it for now, just for like the educational idea. So that way everybody knows what tools to use, how to use them. You're not drawing a trend line to the body. You must draw a trend line to the wick of the candle, whether it be in the high or the top of the wick or the low of the wick. If you're drawing, obviously, to the upside like this, it has to be to the wicks. So I'll just leave it there for like educational aspect. But it's not a valid trend line, so if it breaks above, it doesn't matter. But I would say, this being the true structure, so I would kind of expect this to be broken up above, being this creating the right shoulder, and this would be our sell point. Now that I like really dig deep into that. So yeah, I would expect that. So let's see if news comes out positive for the dollar, gives USD JPY a small surge to the upside. Let this be our resistance, and let's see right shoulder. With a question? If so, that'll be our sell kill zone. So the reason being, in case anybody's wondering, I was late. We go over US30 already. No, we did not. What's good, Heslin? So there's always that one. There's always that one. And if in case anybody's wondering, Tom Heston's my homie. We were in the Army together, so I'm busting his balls a little bit, so nobody think I'm being disrespectful to some random person or one of my students being mean. Shit, he's my homie. But yeah, I'll go over US30 for you in a second. I know you're killing it on that trade too. But yeah, I would say with the news coming out, let's see if USD JPY can in fact get a push to the upside. If we do get a push to the upside, we'll be able to look at this being the potential right shoulder of our head and shoulders pattern, and then this will be considered our sell zone. The reason being, in case anybody's wondering, is when you have a head and shoulders pattern, so let's say you have your level of structure there, right? You do this. That break above level of structure, this being the head of the pattern, but before it becomes the head of the pattern, it's supposed to do this. It's supposed to continue to be bullish, right? It's supposed to break, retest, and continue to be bullish. In fact, it comes down and it creates that shelf. Look familiar, right? Creates that shelf. And what ends up happening is this being the market structure that needs to be broken, the neckline, right? That is the last previous low point, or the last higher low. When you break that, now you're creating a lower low, and market structure is now different. But before any of that happens, this is considered, the head of the pattern is considered a fake out. And when you come back to this level of structure here, being the neckline, your support, you're now looking at a correction back to the price of the left shoulder. This, and the reason being, is because the price of the left shoulder is the true resistance, right? The reason being is because the head of the pattern being the fake out, it wanted to respect this level of structure, but for whatever reason could not. And it finds the respect that it couldn't find here at the when it breaks back within the price point, breaks right back within that resistance. This being your sell point. So I do think with USD/JPY, I know I'm talking about dollar strength, but I think the yen will start taking over. I think this might be the creation of the right shoulder and also your sell zone. And then sell, kill zone. Right shoulder, sell, kill zone. So I would look at something like this. So let's say it reaches that point. My stop loss goes right above, and if anybody's like, well, that's a lot, so what? Deal with it. I don't trade the fucking 5 minute getting 10 pips, and I like to get hundreds of pips if I can. So a 50 pip stop loss going right above the previous highs here. And again, this is not a trade that I'm going to do immediately, or I'm not going to put a pending order there. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm just giving you a visual of if in fact this does happen, right? This is how your trade setup should be and how you should view it. So your stop loss goes right above the previous highs. I do a bare minimum of 50 pips. I then allow the market to find the first take profit at a level of structure, which obviously the risk reward would be in our favor. It's a 1 to 2 trade. Our stop loss being 50 pips, our take profit being about 100 to 105 pips. That's the first take profit. If you are looking at this to continue to push down much lower, you obviously have other levels of structure that could be met. I would think at least down to here would be the ultimate take profit. Because at that point, my patience runs thin. That's about 400 pips. So I personally believe that this will be the idea with USD/JPY overall. Because, again, the yen pairs, I do believe, are exhausted to the upside. I think that, especially USD/JPY, I believe that they might start selling. So if news comes out, gives us a little pop to the upside, we get respect from there. That's what you should expect. And I'll actually go ahead and redraw that valid trend line out. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll go ahead and take a look at US30. I know my man Thomas Heslin out here wants to take a look, so I got you. But yeah, that'll be my entire trade setup with USD/JPY. I would identify some potential sells. Now, obviously, if this breaks above, I don't see the right shoulder form. There's no sells. It'll continue to buy. I'll change my bias a little bit, then identify buy entries. But that's kind of like what I would see as far as USD/JPY is concerned. So, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at US30 real quick. Now, real quick, if you have not already, if you are just jumping onto the call, if you haven't previously, please go ahead, like the video. Again, let's build this community based off of real education, transparency, and value, and tons of profits. I really want to make sure that I'm impacting people's life in a positive manner. So if you guys can, if you haven't already, go ahead, please like the video, share this with anybody as well. I know a lot of people have questions. They don't have the the resource or a individual to ask. I want to be that resource, the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. So yeah, if you guys can, that definitely appreciate that. And let's go ahead and take a look at US30 real quick. All right, so yeah, US30. So my man Heslin, I completely forgot about those this trade. So for my students, I'm always making sure that I don't trade US30 that often or indices that often. I completely forgot, and one of our students actually posted in the profit reviews as well. This was actually two of our trade setups. I do remember this one. I absolutely forgot about this one. So yeah, that's actually a beautiful trade setup that we had. But so my man Thomas Hesson was asking about US30 because right now he's in some really good buys. But what I am looking at is, and this is a very simple markup. So Heslin, let me know if you're still with me, so that way I know that what I'm going to say is going to be, that you're going to hear me, so that way I know you're doing the right thing. Just because I want to make sure that you are closing out at the right time. Real quick, I do think, especially with news, I want you to be very careful. So Heslin, if you want, you can go ahead and feel free to take profits on your trades. Just so that way, if news comes out negative or against you, not in your favor, you take out profits fully. And also because I do think on a technical standpoint, we are reaching a very significant resistance point, being that this was previous support. As you can see here, these being the connected points. That being support, you can see the breakout being here, breakout candlestick, and you are now getting that test for the first time since the breakout of that level of structure. Here, I close out those buys. I'm back in now. Okay, so you close out those previous buys and you're back in new buys. I would say close those out again, because as you see here on the higher time frame, I'll go on to the daily really quick. You'll probably be able to see a little bit different, a little bit better rather. Even though it's just wicks, right? It's wicks on the daily, but on the smaller time frame, being the 4 hour, you have reached the idea of the body of candles as well. So that is a very significant, what was support, which is now resistance. So I would expect this to now look more along the lines of a bearish market. That's not for sure, but I mean the overall, the immediate, not overall, because if we look at overall, it's kind of like choppy, ranging, but right now it's more bullish in a sense. But the immediate market, what the market is giving us right now, what we can see is it's more along the lines of bearish, right? If we go to the 4 hour, this was the previous highs, this is the current market standpoint now. So we can see that we're more along the lines of a bearish market. So the pressure is more to the sells. So your buys were beautiful. Don't get it twisted. Your buys were absolutely gorgeous. You made a few $1,000, if I'm correct, which is gorgeous. I think you had like $200 in your account, which is insane to me. My man just said, you know what? Fuck risk. Bang, bang. He went all in. But you can see here that you are at a level of significant structure. So if you're still in those buys, I'd be careful. I know you said you took profits, but you said that you might be in new ones. I'd be very careful with those new ones. I'd take profits if you can on the new ones. Excuse me. I'd take profits on those new ones and see and wait for the market to give you a little bit more newer setups, if you will, and then really go from there. But yeah, I do think that US30 is right now in a sell kill zone. But we have to wait. It seems like it's at 10 o'clock the news happened, because I haven't seen anything happen to US30 or any other US cross pairs at 8:30. So I believe news is at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we got to be careful. So yeah, I would think, and also on the one thing also on the 1 hour, and I know I'm going to repeat myself. It sounds like I'm repeating myself, but if the clue's left behind, I'm going to use it. And this clue's left behind a lot. There's also that idea of that head and shoulders pattern. It looks ugly as hell, but left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So you do have that idea right now. You're already seeing, if we just go ahead and delete everything, wicks equal rejection. Wicks, right? So we're starting to see that bullish intent is no longer there. Buyers are starting to look exhausted, and it does seem as if there's going to be any place that sellers take over, it will be at a strong level of resistance, and this being that level of resistance. So I would expect this market to start to sell from here. So my mans, I think you're good. Yeah, I got it early enough with this to still have a good stop loss and look for a setup. Good. Yeah, I would say fuck it. You know what I mean? Take your money and look for another setup. Don't have any open trades with US30 or any US crosspair until the news is done with a little bit later, basically an hour and a half. So that way you could keep it, play it safe, keep the profits that you have, don't give any back to the market, and be able to scale up from there. Because I know you made a few thousand, so with that you'll be able to actually do some good, good profits daily with that. So yeah, Any other questions? Any other markets you guys want to take a look at? We did take a look at some really good ones. Took a look at USD CAD, which is extremely bullish. Took a look at USD CAD again. We took a look at gold, which in my idea is going to continue to be very bearish. Leading into the news, it does seem as if that's going to be the case throughout the day. USD JPY, even though I'm looking at US strength, I would think that USD JPY, again, like how we just went over, would end up being a little bit more bearish. But we do have to allow the market to continue for us to see. But yeah, I do think that the majority of U.S. cross pairs, GU, AU, these will look a little bit more bearish up until we start seeing some structure being met, being respected. Until then, yeah, these will just continue in their current directions. But yeah, any other questions? Anything else you guys got for me? Feel free to let me know. Definitely want to make sure I'm speaking in relevance. Let me just make sure you guys are good on. Okay. I just want to make sure that YouTube, like the stream for you guys, is good, because for some reason, again, my mic went out, my webcam was doing some crazy shit. Yeah, so I just want to make sure you guys are good. But yeah, any questions? Anything else you guys got for me? If not, we'll conclude for today. We'll catch back on first thing tomorrow morning. Now that I have everything set up perfectly, we will continue these every single day. So there's going to be no delay, no more missed sessions. I don't know why it took forever for my mic to get in, but it took like a damn near a week. So I do apologize for that. If any new individuals, any new viewers are on here, I definitely want to extend my gratitude to you guys. It's very important that I reach, as many people as I possibly can. As you can see, I am giving out a lot of value, a lot of information, tons and tons of nuggets. So if you guys do appreciate the value, do appreciate the time, do appreciate the consistency, again, feel free to like the video. It helps grow the channel, helps grow the community, and as we grow, there's more value, not more transparency. You're always going to get transparency. More value, more profits, more consistency. Just a lot more from my end to you guys. So I really want to make sure that we grow this in the right way. So let me see if you guys have anything. Thanks, Jay. Yep, appreciate you, LA. LA out here killing it. I appreciate you being an amazing student, an amazing individual, and sending me that message. That definitely helped me out big time. I appreciate those kind words, LA, always. Everybody else, if you guys have anything, feel free to let me know. If not, again, we'll conclude here in a second. I just want to make sure that I'm answering any and all questions to really make sure that I'm helping all you guys out. Again, these sessions will be happening every single day, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. I'll try to continue to increase the stream value or the quality of the value, so that way you guys are being able to get everything in a perfect way. So yeah, seems like you guys are good. So what we'll do is we'll conclude for today. We'll catch back on first thing tomorrow morning. If any students are on right now, you guys should be absolutely killing it with the auto trader. I know last night we ended up in a little bit of drawdown here with CAD JPY, but we were able to absolutely kill it. We ended up being able to close those in profits. As soon as news is released, I'll go ahead and put our gold scalper back on, so that way we can start making double the profits with our gold scalper. I know right now CAD JPY is on the auto trader. I know GBPNZD as well, which is an amazing pair for us, I can't even talk, for our scalper. GBPNZD and GJ, a lot of the yen pairs work amazing with our scalpers. So you guys should all be up about 300 pips so far for the week as far as closed profits are concerned. So whatever lot sizes you guys are using with that, obviously using proper risk, you guys should be up really good profits for the week so far. And then I'll obviously be trying to capitalize on more gains for you guys as the week continues. So if you guys have any questions throughout the day, throughout the week, feel free to hit me up at any point. If you don't have my contact, you can find my contact in the Discord, or here in the description below. Or you could just join our Discord, which the link is also in the description below, so that way you can get in direct contact with me a little bit quicker. Also join our community, stay updated with any of our live sessions, and also receive free signals when I do find some setups. And I've given enough to my students. I want to make sure that I've given you guys some as well. Even 1 or 2 signals for me can equal to 100 to 200 pips, because my overall goal for each trade is at least 100 pips. So even 1 to 2 to even 3 trades a week from our Discord could definitely set you up for great success. So definitely join if you're not. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time if you guys are on the next call. If you're not, I definitely hope to see you guys again in the future somehow, some way. But with that being said, we'll conclude for today. Thank you guys so much for being on, being patient, and staying consistent with the streams as much as I am as well. So thank you guys. Appreciate you all. I'll see you guys on the next